All for the
There we
stream
go.
title.
Much better.
Bye. You'll do great.
Thanks.
For walkies.
Yeah, you can see my personal favorite Black Series.
Yeah, Jedi Knight Revan.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, I just recently picked up the, they just did an archive of Darth Revan. So they just released,
really?
yeah, they re-released the Darth Revan Black Series.
Yeah, my only Black Series that I've got Jedi Knight Revan. This is Mando, right here.
Nice.
And then I have Endor Leia over here.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I don't know if this is technically not. I'm pretty sure this is a Hasbro series, but I have the Ceremony Luke too.
Bye-bye.
Pretty sure that should be, I mean, it's Hasbro regardless.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. I don't think it's a Black Series. I think it's a different special series. Can't remember. Are we live?
We are live, and I'm going to switch over to my personal Twitter.
Yeah, there's a way. Let me see about.
Okay.
I can't remember if I followed you on my personal Twitch. Are you just Ben of Temeria?
Yeah, I'm Ben of Temeria on, like, everything.
Yeah, here we go. Is that what you're using to? Oh, you're going live on YouTube, aren't you?
YouTube and Twitch. I have it on both.
Okay. Are you going live through your channel or through
Oh, through
Holocron?
Holocron
Is there a
Histories.
Holocron
Yeah,
History channel? Okay, yeah.
I made for both.
Here's a question: on your end, can you hear like my washer and dryer and dishwasher going?
Here and there.
Okay. We have one viewer. Restream, right? Here's a question: on your end. Oh, such a delay.
Yeah, there's always a delay. I noticed that. So if you are on, I noticed this with Tom's streams when he does his shows. If you're on mobile, there's always the delay, but if you're on PC, there's no delay.
Right.
It's super weird. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Alright, I'll just give it a couple more minutes.
Okay. Just trying to see.
Okay. Alright, I say let's get this started. I was gonna wear my Sith mask, but I have a headset on, so it doesn't really work well.
I guess that's true. That's why get the AirPods and then just.
Yeah, I might do a wireless headset, or like earbuds or something. But all right, let's get this intro in.
This podcast is part of the Robots Radio Rocket Club, a program designed to help all podcasts reach their full potential. For information about joining the Robots Radio Rocket Club, check out robotsradio.net.
Welcome to Holocron Histories, Star Wars canon versus legends. We're going to take a deep dive into the lore of the Star Wars universe.
All right, and welcome to our first live episode of the Holocron Histories podcast, where we talk about all things legends versus canon regarding Star Wars. I am Austin, or Teacup. I'm one of your co-hosts for this podcast.
And I am Ben of Temeria.
All right. Well, we're going through kind of the different, I guess, factions is a way to put it. But
Yeah.
structures, governments, whatever, of the Star Wars universe. And so last week we covered the Confederacy of Independent Systems, or better yet known as the Separatists. So where are we going today?
Today we are going to, with one of my favorite factions in Star Wars, which we don't get a whole lot in canon, but we get plenty of it in Legends, which is the Sith Empire. Specifically the Sith Empire, not the Galactic Empire, what most people would think.
Right, the Sith Empire.
So the main faction you see in like KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, we see them in the Old Republic MMO, a lot of Old Republic, but they do have other places in the Star Wars universe.
Right. Yes. Particularly, I'm thinking of the Old Republic novels. You see them there too.
Yep.
Which, if you're a big KOTOR fan, pick up the Revan novel. It's one of the good ones of the
Yes.
Old Republic. It's one of the better. Deceived is also amazing. If you want a good kind of intro to where, sort of, I guess, the MMO starts off, Deceived is a good.
Yes, Deceived was
Like-
the Malgus book, wasn't? I'm pretty
Correct.
sure. Yeah. Which right now in the MMO, Malgus is a very, very big point right now. Again.
Oh.
So they brought him back as the main villain now, instead of a side villain. So if you play the game, and this is like kind of off topic before we start, when you play the MMO, Malgus isn't even like, they put him in all the trailers and the promotions as the main bad guy. But when you start actually playing the game, he's not even a main bad guy at all. He's a side villain in some of the flashpoints you do. And I was like, wait, what?
That's interesting, because in the book, he kind of, this is a spoiler a little bit, but he kind of like, whether or not he's really for the Sith Empire is kind of goes back and forth, at least in the novel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then with the new expansion with Legacy of the Sith, they actually tied in the Deceived novel into the current expansion.
Ah, awesome.
So you see, in the Deceived book, you see the main character is a Jedi Knight. I can't remember her name on the top of my head, but she actually helps you out throughout like some of the story missions and whatnot, dealing with Malgus, because she has a connection through him, through the Force, because of the events of Deceived.
I see.
Yes, and She Cup also says in chat that Malgus is also being added to Galaxy of Heroes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to announce more of that towards Celebrations, I think.
More about Galaxy of Heroes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. I have a love-hate relationship with Galaxy of Heroes. I've played it since launch, so that was back in 2015, November of 15. So it's been going 6, almost 7 years now.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with it.
But yeah, so we're going to get into it with Legends. So the Sith Empire, with the origins of the Sith Empire, the Sith civilization began around 100,000 BBY, in which the time of the species of the red-skinned humanoids had evolved onto the planet of Korriban. They lived as a barbaric yet strangely harmonious existence filled with constant warring between the various divided nations on that world. So, if you play Old Republic, the MMO, they're known as pureblood Sith, and then even in the Revan novel, or even in Deceived, all the Old Republic novels, the Sith race is a prominent race in the galaxy at this time. But this is far before that. And then during their pre-industrial age, by 3000 BBY, the inhabitants of Korriban fought off an incursion from the Killiks. It was under an iron rule by King Adis that the Sith first became unified. He was declared the Sith Hara, the ultimate being, and then he was also the one to first form the Sith Empire around the year 28,000 BBY. And then his reign lasted for about 3 centuries. So, we talked about King Adis on our Sith episode, and how he learned from other species and built a giant empire to rule Korriban, and then later expand beyond Korriban.
Right. And just for anyone listening, the incursion they have, the Killiks are kind of like a hive mind insect species that kind of roam the gallery. If you're a Mass Effect fan, think the Rachni, but a little more humanoid, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But but they come in later into a play. If you're in the Legends material, they're in the kind of period after the original trilogy. They give the New Jedi Order and the New Republic a lot of trouble.
And then after relative stability of the Empire, the first challenge was in 27,700 BBY, when the Sith were visited by the Rakata, which we also talked about on the Sith episode. The aliens were from the distant Infinite Empire, which is another thing we see in KOTOR 1, which is the whole thing with the Starforge. Attempted to lure the ancient Sith King into the confidence by providing him with the knowledge to create holocrons. However, their true motivation of conquest quickly became apparent. This led King Adis bringing the full might of the Sith Empire to bear on the Rakata, and he succeeded in driving them away from Korriban at the cost of his life. So, the Sith were actually the first ones to basically develop holocrons specifically because of the Rakata, which we do talk about again in our Sith episode. A lot of this stuff was in the Sith episode because it's specifically as a Sith.
And like the Rakata, if you've played KOTOR, you know who the Rakata are. They're a big part of that, and they were an empire before the Sith and before the Republic that kind of conquered the galaxy. But most of the main technologies that you find in Star Wars, hyperspace travel, holocrons, the lightsaber, even blasters to an extent, all begin with the Rakata and their infinite empire.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And then using the remains of the enemy crafts, the once primitive Sith were propelled into a space age and were armed with the power of the dark side of the Force. Using these new acquired tools from the Infinite Empire, the Sith Empire conquered other nearby worlds, which became part of the Sith space, and relocated their capital from the ancient Korriban to the neighboring world of Ziost. Which, if you do play Star Wars Old Republic, and right before you get to one of the major expansions, you actually do visit Ziost, which is kind of cool. But during that age, the capital was a completely different planet than Ziost. And then around the year 7000 BBY, a civil war was initiated by Dathka Karash, which left most of the cities of Korriban in ruin. A group of Sith priests of the Kisa caste interpreted the death of Adis as a sign to reject the dark side dominated beliefs of their people. Labeled as heretics for their actions, these Sith were banished and settled the planet of Thund and became the Sorcerers of Thund. The planet Arcania also fell under the domination of the Sith, and by 7000 BBY, they were established a library known as the Vesha Tuwan on it. So I'm curious if this is like a precursor to kind of the Sith alchemy or magic base, like what we see in the Witches of Dathomir, maybe.
Potentially, it kind of sounds similar to that, but what caught my attention in this is this adherence to the dark side, like a rejection of the dark side, which predates the Jedi, which I just think is interesting.
Yeah. And then around the year 69,000 BBY, or sorry, 6,900 BBY, exiled fallen Jedi fleeing from the Battle of Korbos, which concluded the 100-Year Darkness, landed on Korriban, a desolate world inhabited by the relatively primitive but unusually Force-sensitive Sith people. Upon arriving, the Dark Jedi attempted to subjugate the Sith and take whatever knowledge they possess. The Sith attempted to protect their secrets, but they fell to the superior training and technology of the invaders. Using their training in the Force, the fallen Jedi amazed the Sith and elevated themselves to godlike status on Korriban, becoming the rulers of the Sith people. So this is where you will start seeing the transition from what they were called as the Dark Jedi and becoming what we know as the Sith, and more of a Sith as a religious style like how the Jedi are, instead of just being the people. And then over the next 2,000 years, interbreeding occurred between the fallen Jedi and the Sith by means of Sith alchemy, which led to the term Sith being used to identify not only as the original inhabitants of Korriban, but also the fallen Jedi Masters. The intermingling between the two species continue across hundreds of generations, and the hybridized offspring of this union became the new ruling class of the Sith. Thus, the Sith Empire born, with Zios becoming the capital, while Korriban became a sacred mausoleum world. One of the first Sith lords of this new empire was Ajunta Paul, who the native Sith viewed as the incarnation of their primary god, Typhagim. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Which is interesting. So that's something I like. So I play a lot of the MMO, and I did not realize there was like intermingling between the two of humans or even just the Sith that we know as a Sith Lords with the Sith race. I didn't know that was a thing, because in the game it's not really there. Like the Sith, pureblood Sith hate humans with a passion. They hate everything, really.
And we'll get into this, but like if you're playing the MMO, the Sith Empire that kind of gets in there in the MMO they originate from a planet called Drummond Cross.
Yeah,
is like the
Drummond
head
Cost.
of that.
Mm-hmm.
Drummond Cost, and there the pureblood Sith, like there is a clear like racial hierarchy that exists there. Like you cannot advance enough if you are not a pureblood Sith.
Yeah.
And a Force wielder. You need to, if you're a human and a Force wielder, you can get up higher in the ranks. But if you're a human who cannot wield the Force, you are basically trash.
Yeah,
on the planet.
And we'll get into that, because it gets kind of dark on what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So now we get into the Golden Age of the Sith. So in this time, the Sith formed in a immensely rich and powerful empire built upon the use of sorcery and the dark side of the Force, which fueled their technology, adopted by the relics of the Infinite Empire. At its height, the Sith Empire ruled over at least 120 worlds, which is surprising and not surprising to me, being how they're, I mean, Zios, if I recall just from like playing the MMO, it's out in the Outer Rim. So there's many planets out in the Outer Rim, and it being the Outer Rim as it is, there is no law, like, at all. Like the Republic barely has even a presence in the Outer Rim to begin with.
Now, just for clarification, this Infinite Empire is not the Rakata Infinite Empire.
I mean, from the technology that they have in the relics, it is.
But this is the one that's from the MMO that like has, when you originally encounter it, it's the Emperor with the twin sons.
That is the Eternal Empire. That's
Eternal
different.
Empire.
Yeah, that's a different
there we go.
empire. Yeah, there's multiple empires in the Star Wars universe. So you have the Sith, you have the Infinite, you have the Eternal, then you have the Galactic. It's the first word.
Yeah, Palpatine is kind of arrogant when he says to the first Galactic Empire because it's not really the first one. Yeah. Well, Palpatine's not above lying, so.
That's true too. So then, over the centuries that followed, the Dark Jedi exiles were forgotten by the Galactic Republic. Even as all records of the Republic were lost to the Sith, the two civilizations thrived in isolation, ignorant of one another's existence. To the galaxy outside their space, the Sith Empire was considered nothing more than a fable. So, that being said, the Republic didn't believe that the Sith even existed at this point. Like, oh, the Dark Jedi just, poof, disappeared. Never seen them again. Oh, they died on some backwater world or something. Who knows?
I don't know why they keep thinking that. It never ends up like that for them.
Yeah, no. And over the course of Star Wars history, you see, oh, yeah, they're gone, and then they come back and, like, full throttle force, and it's like, oh, we're getting decimated. It's like, yeah, maybe you should, like, not just forsake something when it just disappears.
It's the same thing that happens, like, in Assassin's Creed with the Templars and Assassins. They think they beat each other and then
back and forth motion with them.
Never assume your enemy's gone is the lesson of Star Wars.
Yes. So, and then at some point during the Golden Age, the Sith Lord Letus created a slave organization known as the Crucible, which was tasked with capturing refugees displaced from war in order for them to be used as a slave army that would fight for the Sith Empire. The Crucible long outlived the empire it served. So this is where we're going to get into like a little darker tone. The Sith are all for slavery, which no surprise. I mean, they are the Sith. It's just we see it all the time in most empires, at least in Star Wars. And then when we get to the late Golden Age, they saw some relative stability. At this time, the Dark Lord of the Sith was a particularly powerful and long-lived individual named Marco Ragnos. Through his mastery of the dark side of the Force and his fierce intelligence, he had risen through the ranks of the Order to attain the position of Dark Lord. Ragnos would prove to be one of the last rulers of the original Sith Empire. So this is where we're kind of getting where the Sith Empire will be changing. And they do have multiple reforms, just like the Republic does. And then Ragnos often placed his rivals against one another. Surprise, surprise. Manipulated them into challenge him openly, or simply had them assassinated. While many factions sought to expand beyond the confines of the Sith space, Ragnos forbid it, as he well remembered how his ancestors were defeated by the Jedi Order. He knew how powerful the Jedi were, and was not confident that the Sith Empire was strong enough to challenge him. After ruling for over a century, his death caused a power vacuum within the leadership of the Empire, which saw the isolationists Lundun Crush and the exceptional Nagasato amass power in the Order to propel themselves onto the Sith throne. So, yeah.
Right. And Marco Ragnos, if you really want to talk about it like historically, he is kind of the first Dark Lord of the Sith.
Yep.
Like someone who really like maintains that title and has unchallenged authority when he ruled. And it's a big, like, he's very powerful. He's very revered among the Sith at this time. And even after his death, revered as one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time.
Mhm.
He makes an appearance in, you visit his tomb in KOTOR.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I believe it's the tomb. It's the tomb with the droids, where you fight the droids, where they've gone crazy.
I think you're right. I would have to
Yeah.
replay. It's been a bit on that one.
Because Naga Shadow is where you do the test.
Yes.
Then there's Tulak Horde is where you find the crazy hermit.
Mhm.
Marco Ragnos is where the crazy droids are, and then you do go to the tomb of Ajutapal, where you get a sword.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so all the major Sith I just list off in the last couple minutes
And-
are all in KOTOR 1.
In the Legends, in the Jedi Knight series, in Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, the group of dark side users you're fighting are seeking to resurrect Marco Ragnos.
I completely.
I don't know if you ever played the Jedi Knight
I
series.
have. It's been a long time since I played those. I played KOTOR more
Yeah.
recent than playing the Jedi Knight series.
Yeah, that one's a fun one. I think that's a big. The Jedi Knight series really makes you feel like a Jedi. At least Jedi
Yeah.
Academy does.
Jedi Academy does for sure. Jedi Knight 1, because isn't that the one where is that the one you play as Kyle Katarn, or is that Outcast?
You play as Kyle, I believe, in all of them except for Academy.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, because Jedi Knight. There's Jedi Knight. The Dark Forces games are the Jedi Knight series. There's Mystery of the Sith.
Mm.
There's Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy.
Oh, okay. I know I played in Jedi Academy. I played Jedi Knight and Jedi Outcast. I have not played the other ones. But
EA.
But yeah, that's now we're going to get into the Great Hyperspace War of the Sith Empire era. So in 5000 BBY, the isolation of the Sith was broken when two young hyperspace explorers called Gav and Jory Daragon stumble upon Korriban by accident while they attempt to establish a hyperspace lane into an effort to expand their trade options. Uh-oh. That's not good. And, and then, by this point in history, the Sith held little memory of the Republic, who lived in a distant regions of space compared to them. This saw Liu Crash and his allies to claim that the two travelers were the precursors of an invasion of their territory, while his rival Nagasato held the view of the Republic offered new lands to conquer. In secret, Sato also believed that focusing on conquest of the Republic would unite the strained factions of the Empire and distract the populace from the political problems they face on their native territory. So, another Sith Lord manipulating everything behind the scenes, trying to go to war to, fool the whole Empire. So, Palpatine.
He's not really an original kind of guy.
No, he's not. He's taken... Palpatine has taken ideas from multiple Sith Lords throughout galactic history, and it's just, it's rinse and a repeat. That's honestly, that's most Sith. It's just a rinse and repeat.
Really?
So then, a tribunal of Sith rulers later sentenced Dagagon to his death, but Sato secretly had them rescued and sheltered at his own isolated fortress. However, he left behind evidence to suggest the rescue attempt was done so by the Republic agents, used this to galvanize the Sith Council by exploiting their fears and doubts. Oh no! He planted evidence to attack the Republic. Go figure.
Dun dun dun.
And then the Dark Lord was well aware that his forces would be insufficient in combating the Republic Navy, but made one use of the element of surprise to aid him. For a time, it worked. The Koros system fell to the Sith's might, and the Empire's naval forces spread through the Kronos trunk line to assault the shipyards at Forost, whereupon the Sith moved to assault, and I might butcher these names here, Kakelis, Metalos, Basilisk, Shakin, and then ultimately Coruscant itself. So, go figure. Coruscant's getting attacked. Woo! Name something new. God,
This episode title: The Sith Empire, the One-Trick Pony.
Yeah, pretty much. I just feel bad for Coruscant. Like, I would not want to live. Every conflict, every conflict, it gets attacked.
Pick a new planet. Come on.
Yeah. And then the Sith armies on Coruscant managed to march across the legislative district onto the steps of the Senate Hall, where they fought off by the defending Jedi forces. At Koros Mare, the Sith proved relentless and unpredictable in their attacks, which was necessary due to Sato's limited knowledge of the region of space, which led to the Republic not faring well in the conflict, which became known as the Great Hyperspace War. So, yeah, that's fun. And then this is where it's if people play KOTOR 2, you're gonna recognize one of these ship names. During the war, several Jedi were corrupted and joined forces of the Sith Empire. One who was Kalish Sas Rogan, who commanded the Harbinger, which the Harbinger was in KOTOR 2, if I believe. Right? That's the ship that you're on?
I think
when you're trying to escape Paragus?
Paragus? Yeah, it's something like that. I can't remember
Pretty sure.
if it is called the Harbinger, but it is a Republic warship. It might just share the name.
Well, this was a
I don't know.
Jedi who was corrupted and joined the Sith. And he was the captain of the Harbinger. So, the Sith took
That's
over a Republic ship?
That's like 1,000-year-old ship.
Yeah.
Then when it comes into KOTOR 2.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe
Unless it's
I
like
guess-
just the ship's renamed on constantly with the Harbinger logo.
let me see.
So,
I'm gonna look it up. You keep
cool.
going.
And then, so in the closing stages of the conflict, the newly trained Sith Valak Kodank diverted resources for the construction of their own Sith temple, located in the Tusculian Nebula. So, yeah, and that's too. She-Cup says, when I hear Harbinger, all I think is Mass Effect. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So, when Nagasado returned to the Sith Empire, he was greeted by an unexpected figure, his rival Ludo Kresh, who had not died in the earlier battle, but was warned by his spies of the assassination attempt. Showing no mercy, Kresh's forces mercilessly attacked Sato's battered fleet before they could recover. However, Nagasado's forces fought with wild frenzy as they had nothing to lose, leading to both sides being devastated as a result of the Second Battle of Korriban. So, yeah. Well, I mean, if you have nothing to lose, Sith just go all out and go ballistic.
Right. A little update, it is not the same ship,
What?
the Harbinger, because this is from the Lost Tales of the Sith.
Okay.
It's not destroyed till 43 ABY.
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap. This ship lives
That's-
forever.
That's like the end of the Legends timeline, almost as we know it.
Yeah.
Because the Death Star 2 over Endor is in like 6 or 7 ABY. Something like
Yes.
that.
Or it's close to that, yeah.
Yeah, the Battle of Endor is like 5 years after.
Oh my God. That's
Um,
towards like the end of Luke's era. almost.
Yeah. So long time,
Jeez.
but the Harbinger in there is a different. It
Different
has a
Harbinger.
separate It has a separate Wookieepedia entrance than.
Interesting.
So, fun facts.
So, by this point, Supreme Chancellor Pulamoto, I think that's how you say it, ordered Republic forces in an invasion of Sith space, which saw hundreds of ships piercing the Stygian Veil. The Sith Empire at the time was in complete turmoil after the death of Ludo Kresh and was unable to withstand the onslaught of these invaders. With Kresh dead and Sado missing, Shar Dakan became acting Dark Lord of the Sith. Sensing defeat and possible surrender being the only options available to them, he commanded his warriors to make suicidal attacks against the invading enemy fleets. This act led to heavy losses being sustained by the Republic and forced them into making a temporary retreat as a result. Ultimately, the Republic only won after many of the lower caste Sith committed ritualistic suicide. So, that's also fun. Like, you know, hey, we're not going to win, just kamikaze then. That's all good. It's the only way to go at that point. And then the Sith Empire was broken as a result through unknown to the Republic. Sado had in fact escaped the struggle. He fled to Yavin 4 in his single Deerfawn class battleship, which was buried on the moon, while the Dark Lords Masamasi created temples for their masters. One of the Sith Lords to die during the conflict was Lord Garu, the holder of King Adis Holocron, who perished on the world of Asha Sri, leaving the ancient relic behind, where it remained undiscovered for centuries. So, that's interesting that, I mean, Yavin has a lot of history in the back end when it comes to the Force, with both the Jedi and the Sith. In Legends, there are Sith temples, and like there's a lot of temples on Yavin which were dedicated to both Sith and Jedi. And then we see way later in the Legends timeline that Luke creates his new Jedi Order on Yavin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you play the Jedi Academy game, that's where the Academy is.
Okay.
Is on Yavin.
That's what I thought.
But the Rebel base.
Oh yeah, I
Yavin,
forgot about
in
that.
A New Hope. That is a Sith temple that they're in.
Oh.
Yes.
Did not know that. So, then following the supposed destruction of the Sith Empire, the Jedi worked... Oh no. The Jedi worked to destroy whatever remained of the Sith's legacy, which included talismans, temples, and holocrons. This was an attempt by the Jedi to prevent the dark knowledge of the Sith from being used by other Darksiders, or by students who could be influenced by these teachings. Among the many locations destroyed, the Sith library on Arcana, known as Vishas Tuwan, was destroyed by a group of Jedi Masters. Jedi Shadows worked to destroy any dark side artifacts created by the Sith, such as amulets and talisman, while the ranks of the Jedi Shadows destroyed most of these tainted artifacts. Items such as holocrons were also kept in the custody of the Jedi Order, though many others were left in burial vaults of the Sith Lords. So, did I just froze?
Yeah.
Oh no, what the heck?
We'll be back with technical difficulties.
I just froze. My camera's still working, so I have no idea what's going on.
Try turning your video off and then back on again.
Ah, there it is. Failed to start camera. I hate my computer sometimes. So.
We can look at the School of the Wolf emblem.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, that's a fun laptop to have. That happens from time to time. But anyway, let's get back into the. So I was about to say, Jedi Shadows are kind of like Jedi spies. That if you play the MMO, that's one of the like combat styles you can do is a shadow or classes. They're like spies slash more into force objects and stuff, which is kind of cool. So, though the Empire was destroyed, one of the legacies remained in the form of the Crucible, which we talked about earlier, which continued to operate in the shadows for centuries, abducting countless people and turning them into ruthless warriors. One of the few known artifacts that was kept by the Jedi Order included the holocron of Naga Sato, which was kept in order to provide insight into the origins of the ancient Sith. Ultimately, the campaigns of the Jedi were to bury the teachings of the Sith was partly successful, with much of the Sith Empire's history being masked in shadows over the centuries that followed.
This is a question, just what I'm thinking that you might not know, but the Jedi Temple on Coruscant is built on top of a Sith shrine,
Yes.
temple, altar, something
Sith
like that.
shrine, yeah. Yeah, we find that
There
out
is-
in the High Republic novels, which is interesting.
Yeah. I think, and that comes from Legends too.
Yeah, it does.
Because Palpatine is very interested in like going there, and like that's why he orders the clones not to destroy the Jedi Temple, because he doesn't want to destroy the Sith. But I can't remember, is it the holocron of Naga Sato that is in there, and that's what's causing the like corruption?
I think it's in the temple. I don't think that's what was causing the corruption. I think that might have been a different source. I can't remember the top of my head. I know in the High Republic novels, so far Naga Sato isn't mentioned at all. But they do like the Jedi do meditate at the shrine to wane off its darkness from corrupting the rest of the temple above it. And it's like, so you guys knew this was here. It didn't do anything.
Right.
What?
I
mean, and then with them introducing that, it kind of shows how by the time of the prequels, how Palpatine was never discovered. But because he was on Coruscant, being surrounded by dark side energy from the shrine, and with the temple being above the shrine, it was like, I wouldn't say corrupt, but it was hindering the Jedi's ability to sense him.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. I'll have to figure that out, because there are a couple named holocrons that we see in the Legends material. Particularly, Darth Revan has a holocron. Freedom Nod has a holocron. Tons of other Sith have holocrons, and they interact in the series later in Legends. We'll have to do a holocron episode of Holocron Histories.
Right? To the name. So,
Yes.
now we're going to get into the legacy of the Sith Empire. See what I did there? Legacy of the Sith.
Yeah.
Dad jokes. So in 4400 BBY, the fallen Jedi Freedon Nad discovered two artifacts that Jedi Shadows failed to destroy. The first was the holocron of King Adus, and the second was the spirit of Naga Sato himself, which Nad used to absorb himself in the teachings of the Sith. After communing with the long-dead Sith Lord, Freedon Nad destroyed Sato's spirit and later used his newly acquired power to bring about the Freedon Nad uprising, whereupon he was defeated. However, like Sato, Nad's spirit remained on Onderon. Despite his defeat, Nad's teachings would yet lead to a new Sith Empire. So, that's the other thing. Like, Sith, like, in some Sith alchemy, Sith, like, ritual stuff, you can, like, absorb Force Ghosts, basically, and, like, gain power from them, which is kind of cool-ish, if you're a Sith.
Right. And like the Sith Force ghosts are much different than the Jedi Force
Yes.
ghosts.
Yeah.
A lot of times the Sith Force ghosts are bound to one place.
Either.
But also, yeah, certain
Mhm.
Sith Force ghosts can even possess organic beings, which we see with the ghost of Mark Aragnos. But yeah.
Yep. So then, 400 years later, in 4000 BBY, a young Jedi known as Exar Kun, became curious about the teachings of the Sith and was thus turned to the dark side by the ghost of Freedon Nad. His actions led to the Great Sith War, which tore the galaxy apart and instigated the fall of Uluk Keldroma. Kun recruited Keldroma, as well as many other Jedi, into the Brotherhood of the Sith. Kun and Keldroma led their newborn Sith Empire and caused great destruction during their short reign of power. So, even though Freedon Nad died, with his spirit being there, Exar Kun then was corrupted by his spirit. Surprise.
Yes. And you visit the tomb of Freedom Nad in KOTOR 2, if you are curious.
Yep. And then in 3976 BBY, the Mandalorian Wars engulfed the galaxy, threatening the destruction of the Galactic Republic. The Jedi High Council abstained from participating in the war, sensing danger, but not all Jedi followed the example. A Jedi known as Revan recruited like-minded members of the Order and led the Republic to victory over the Mandalorians, ending the war in 3960 BBY, which is a prelude to KOTOR 1. Woo!
Yes.
And then sometime during or near after the war ended, Revan visited the Trias Academy on the Sith War of Malachor V. There he discovered evidence that the ancient Sith faction survived the violence of the Great Hyperspace War and existed in the unknown regions. Revan pursued these rumors and came in contact with the Sith Emperor, a surviving Sith Lord who turned him to the dark side. Revan was sent back to the Republic to prepare it for an invasion of the exiled Sith, but instead Revan and his apprentice Malak acted on their own gain. So this is where the Sith Academy that I just mentioned on Malachor 5 is the Sith Academy you do visit at the very end of KOTOR 2. With spoilers if you don't want to listen to KOTOR 2 spoilers, but it is where Darth Treya, is it Treya? Is her name Darth Treya?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Dark Scion and Darth Nihilus, they're the trifecta, their so-called academy, where you fight Darth Treya, a.k.a. Kira.
Yeah.
Kreia. God, her name almost escaped me. So then the Sith Trimoblade, I think that's how you say that, was a loose alliance that remained a Darth Revan Sith. It was I can't talk today. Solidified sometime after the Battle of Rakata Prime around the Tyrus Academy on Malachor 5. The organization was made up of several, if not hundreds, of Sith apprentices, Sith masters, and most importantly, Sith assassins, and fell under the leadership of three powerful Sith lords: Darth Treya, Darth Nihilus, and Dark Scion, co-rulers of the new Sith Empire. And then from Malachor 5, they intervene with galactic affairs, using Darth Treya's ideas of echoes of the Force and corrupting Jedi to the dark side. Scion quickly grew impatient of waiting to fight the Jedi and the Republic, while Nihilus grew hungry and needed Force subsistence, which Nihilus has his own crazy backstory alone. The two conspired against Darth Treya and attacked when she was vulnerable. The two lords used an unknown Force technique to sever her connection to the Force, leaving her cast out by both Jedi and Sith. Abandoning her Sith name and title and traveling as Kreia, the fallen Sith Lord directed her anger towards the Force itself, viewing it as a malevolent, intelligent being She directed her manipulations towards the Jedi Exile, which is the main character you play in KOTOR 2, who had cut herself off from the Force following the events of the Mandalorian Wars, and in whom Kreia saw a means to destroy the Force itself. Sion and Nihilus went their separate ways, Sion carrying out a purge of the Jedi Order, and Nihilus consuming entire civilizations in his hunger. Then they turned to each other, each controlling a nearly equal section of the Sith Empire. Thus began the Sith Civil War. So we're getting to a lot of the events of like during KOTOR 2, and yeah, pretty much during KOTOR 2, the back end stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Under Kreia's direction, the Jedi Exile retrained herself as a Jedi and fought the Sith Empire of Sion and Nihilus, eventually destroying them both. Kreia revealed her true intentions, killing survivors of the Jedi High Council and luring the Jedi Exile to the Troyes Academy on Malachor 5. There, Kreia, once again in the disguise of Darth Troya, Sith Lord of Betrayal, fought the Exile with the intention of using the retrained Jedi's unique connection to the Force in order to destroy the Force entirely. The Jedi Exile defeated Troya, and Malachor 5 was destroyed by Bodor's mass shadow generator in 3,951 BBY, ending her Sith Empire once and for all. So, yeah, it's there's a lot of this. How much do I have left? Oh my god, there's so much left of the legacy. So, and then we get to the aftermath of the Great Hyperspace War. So we go back to 5000 BBY. Survivors of the original Sith Empire establish a new Sith Empire in the galaxy's unknown regions. This empire was also known as the True Sith Sect, which was led by Darth Vitiate, a surviving Sith Lord of the old Sith Empire. So, and Vitiate is who we see in the MMO at some point. He then becomes Valkorian, and then he's also known as the Sith Emperor, who corrupted Revan.
Yes.
And then refugees wandered aimlessly through space in search of a new home. 20 years after the departure of the original Empire's territory, the Sith discovered the forgotten world of Dromund Kaas, unsettled, and began to reprocess a rebuilding. It was the Sith Empire which offered the Mandalorian Neo-Crusaders their new crusade against their common foe, resulting to the Mandalorian Wars. During the war, Revan discovered that he was turned by the Emperor before invading the Republic at the head of his own Sith Empire. Around 300 years after the Jedi Civil War, the Sith Empire, still under the command of the Emperor, his life extended through the Sith magics, invaded the Republic, sparking the Great Galactic War. In 3653 BBY, the Treaty of Coruscant ended the Great Galactic War, giving way to the Cold War, the galaxy divided between the Sith Empire and the Galactic Republic, which that is the events of the Old Republic MMO.
Right. I think because that's like spoilers for the Deceived book, but Malgus's attack on the temple is a break of the Treaty of Coruscant.
I believe so. It's either a break or it's what started the treaty. I want to say it was the break, though. Yeah, it was the break, because that's what reignited the war.
Mm-hmm.
Because Malgus was a warmonger, basically. He's a warmonger. And then honestly, after that, we get into the prequels. The Galactic Empire was made by Palpatine, who was Darth Sidious, who you could say is a legacy of the Sith Empire. He wanted the old stuff. And then, honestly, really after that, I'm going to skip some of the stuff I have in my show notes. We get to Dark Krait's Galactic Empire, which was a government formed out of the Fel Empire in 130 ABY, where Darth Krayt, Dark Lord of the Sith, made a coup against the Emperor Ronan Fel when the Moff Council invoked the Treaty of Annex against the will of the Emperor Ronan Fel, and in 127 ABY, the Sith Imperial War broke out, and the one Sith allied with the Empire. So, I mean, after really the Old Republic stuff, you get to the prequels and the Legends, and then a little bit after Luke, or when Darth Crate's experience a lot after Luke.
Right. And it's noticed to say that, like, the Sith Empire really ends with Darth Bane.
Yeah.
Because, and he's really the one who destroys it. Like, the Sith Empire is destroyed by a Sith, not the Jedi, not the Galactic Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the Battle of Ruusan, they are defeated, and that's really the end, because Darth Bane's reforms are so counter to what the Empire was before that, that it's not really until Darth Krayt invokes the one Sith that we get something that's similar to the Sith Empire we see before Darth Bane.
Yeah, I mean, like with Darth Bane, he creates the World 2. The Sith Empire is founded on numbers. They want the numbers of the Sith to be great, even though there's a lot of infighting and, you know, power struggle, power vacuums on a regular basis. That's what it's founded on.
Right. Well, let's do our little break, and then we'll get into kind of what we know in canon about the Sith Empire.
Sure.
All right. Well, welcome to the middle of, I guess, just the break. It's not really the middle of the show.
No, it's not really the middle.
So welcome to the break, where we talk about all things that don't have to do with Legends versus canon. And so I just want to take this time to let you know that one of the greatest ways to support this podcast, if you like this podcast, is to go on to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. You do need an account on those, but you don't have to listen on those platforms to leave us a review. We greatly appreciate that. It lets people know that this is a great podcast and let them know it's worth listening to. Another thing is, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple and you leave us some kind words, we will read that on a future episode of the show. We do not have a review to read this week, I believe. Is that correct?
No, not this week. Oh, that's not this week.
Well, let's get that review. We also let you know that if you would like to support us via Patreon, we do have a Patreon up and running. You can go there. There are various tiers with various benefits. Right up to once a month coming on us with the show to discuss a topic. And yeah.
And with that, next week we will be having our first Patreon episode with our Patreon Toasty, or he goes by Tarth Toasty on our Discord. So if you guys if anybody wants to join us, you still have time to join us. It will be next Friday when we go live again at 8 p.m. So, and then you guys actually get to choose the topic we go over. So I don't have to make show notes for that episode. So
yeah,
that'd be fun. Talk about anything Star Wars really on those episodes. So
yeah. All right. Well, let's get back into it.
All right. So now we got that long-winded Legends history out of the way. We get into the canon history of the Sith Empire. Now,
which is nothing.
Yeah, that's really not a whole lot. There's some skirmishes, and that's really it. Like, the Sith Empire is still an ongoing, developed faction in the canon. And we do get, like, references. So, for instance, like, we do know the Great Hyperspace War does happen in canon. The only things we really know on it is various Sith-led governments that share the name of the Sith Empire existed long before the Galactic Civil War, which was the original films. At one point, according to the Quell Dromo epics, following its inception, the Sith Empire invaded the deep core planet of Empress Teta, with Sith forces being led by Sith Lord Naga Sato. The invasion led to Empress Teta to ally herself with the Jedi Order, which were mortal enemies of the Sith. The conflict resulted in the Great Hyperspace War, and the Jedi and Empress Teta supposedly managed to drive back Sato's forces, resulting in their defeat and forcing the Sith to scatter throughout the galaxy. And then, in another moment, according to the Quell Droma epics, Nagasato decimated the Jedi world of Ossus when he triggered the stars in the Crone cluster, resulting in the Crone supernova, which left Ossus scarred and barren. So, that is the great hyperspace war that we know of so far for the Sith. Almost nothing. Though we do know Nagasato does exist in canon, which is nice. And I think isn't one of the Sith, I know Revan's name is under the Sith troops in Rise of Skywalker. Is Sato's? I can't remember the list of Sith because they're all named by Sith lords.
You have, it might be Nagasato. I know Darth Nihilus is mentioned there.
Mm-hmm.
Darth Revan. Yeah, that's all I know. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens here, and like, because as far as I understand Legends, even though it's not official canon, there's still big ideas that some of these things happened.
Yeah.
Like, they're just legends surrounding that.
Yeah.
So,
another instance we know the Sith Empire in canon is the Great Scourge of Malachor, which we do here in Rebels. The Sith Empire maintained a presence on the Sith world of Malachor. A Sith temple was situated on the surface, which contained a super weapon that was created by Darth Tanis. Eventually, the Jedi Order invaded the planet and what became known as the Great Scourge of Malachor. As during the battle between the Jedi and the Sith, thousands of Sith led by a Sith witch, the super weapon activated and petrified the surface, killing all of its combatants. So, we do see that in Rebels. We get a mention of those events when Ezra, Kanan, and Ahsoka visit Malachor. And that's where we get like the first it's the second showing of the crossguard saber that Kylo Ren uses.
Yeah.
And then we have the other wars. At another point, the Sith eventually controlled the majority of the galaxy, and such gemstones were freely traded, although this caused flooding of the market and value of gemstones dropped until bans and limits were put in place. Additionally, many incarnations of the Sith Empire were built by slave labor. Sonaro was a particular planet under the rule of the Sith Empire, according to legend, until it was overthrown by a victorious charge led by the member of House Serrano, which... Is that the...
That's Dooku's home.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. So it would have been his ancestor that would have overthrown the Sith Empire.
That's cool. And then, he becomes the Sith himself.
Yeah.
And then another time, a Sith Empire participated in the Sith Wars against the Galactic Republic and the Chiss Ascendancy, thousands of years before the Galactic Civil War. That took place from 4 BBY to 5 ABY. The various Sith empires controlled the planet of Oroterra following an initial invasion, and the world shifted allegiance between the Republic and the Sith throughout the millennia, according to whoever controlled the nearby regions. So that's another interesting thing. So we knew the Sith Wars happened in canon, and then the Chiss Ascendancy is also another ongoing, getting developed in Star Wars canon as well. With the Thrawn books, we're seeing more stuff like, I think they're going to introduce them into High Republic at some point. Mm-hmm. Who knows? But with Ahsoka coming out next year, that we do know Ahsoka now will be coming out in early 2023. Thrawn's in that, so more likely we'll hopefully see more Chiss stuff in that series. So we'll see.
Yeah, I know they play a bigger role. They play a big role in like the post, like 30 ABY
Mm-hmm. It's like
world of
late
the Legends. Yeah. So like Luke and Thrawn go toe to toe, like right after the Emperor. Like Thrawn is basically in the unknown regions during the Battle of Endor, and then like a couple years later comes back with basically resurrects the Empire and what's called the Imperial Remnant, and then
Yep. Thrawn's a nice character. I like what they're doing with him in canon now, though, because they're doing more. I think they're doing a lot more with his character now. I mean, than he did in the Legends, because his rule of the Imperial, of the Empire, his rule of the Empire was not long, like at all.
Right.
So, and then now we get to the legacy of the Sith Empire in canon. So, according to Queldroma's epics, again, a millennia following the Great Hyperspace War, corrupt descendants from the Empire, or from Empress Teta's nobility, created the Krath, a dark side cult, and after being empowered by Sith artifacts. The Jedi Knight Oleg Queldroma infiltrated the group after they launched a bloody crusade against the Jedi Order, but was corrupted by the dark side of the Force. Alongside the fallen Jedi Exar Kun, led the Krath. Together, the two turned Empress Teta into a stronghold for a resurgent Sith Empire. So that's another person we know that is in canon is Exar Kun, who makes a very prominent role in the Sith history.
Right. Yes.
He
is the inventor of the double-bladed lightsaber.
That too. That is true. He if you like Maul's lightsaber, think Exar Kun. And then the last thing I have on canon is the Brotherhood of Darkness. It was an army of the Sith and eventually a Sith Empire that participated in the Jedi-Sith War. The Sith Brotherhood was active on Oro Terra until it collapsed, becoming the last Sith Empire. The inhabitants who lived there coordinated with the Jedi into secrecy, alter official Republic records to misclassify the system as uninhabitable. As such, the inhabitants of the planet became nearly closed off to the rest of the galaxy and eventually cut ties with the few remaining trading partners that they had when the Brotherhood fell. At the end of the war, around 1032 BBY, the Sith Brotherhood was defeated by the Republic and the Jedi, and the Sith were thought destroyed when they all turned on each other. Darth Bane was the sole survivor and established the Rule of Two, which served as a doctrine for the surviving Sith for the next 1,000 years.
Yes. And if you need good reading, the Darth Bane trilogy is one of the best of Star Wars.
Yeah, Darth Bane trilogy is good. Even as it is Legends though, isn't it? Right.
Technically, it is still Legends.
But
we know Darth Bane existed.
Yes, he exists thanks to the Yoda Chronicles and voiced by none other than Mark Hamill himself, which is great.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what we got for this week's episode on the Sith Empire.
I think that's all the time we got for today.
Yeah, today was a little long of an episode. So, we will see you guys next week with our patrons.
All right. See y'all next week.
And may the Force be with you.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Holocron Histories, Star Wars Canon versus Legends. You can find us on the Robots Radio Discord at robotsradio.net. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWHoloHistories and contact us at holocronhistories@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you all for listening in chat and live.
Yes.
We'll do this again next week.
Yes, we will.
I gotta go.
Yeah. You go, make dinner?
Something. I gotta do something.
Gotta do something?
Yeah.
That's fair. Alright. Well,
All right.
we will see you later, chat.
All right. See y'all.